When you emphasize the practice of realization or lifting up girls' capacity for realization, you summarize that as a critical consciousness for decision making, lifting that up. Can you share with us some practical ways that you've done that in your own ministry?
Sure. I have used film quite a bit to engage young people in formulating critical theological questions. And one of the reasons for that is because we all love visual images, right? They spark our imagination. They give us something to talk about as we kind of see them. I use movies. I use videos. And, you know, I've never experimented with this, but I always kind of wondered, what if I actually gave kids an opportunity to go out and shoot with their cell phones, things that they would like to bring back, and we could just actually show it through our little makeshift setting in our own church to talk about what they discovered or what they saw. Because people do this all the time, right? They'll take videos of things that they see. And I found that, I found using film and video to be a good starting point for realization, particularly. And then we can build on that to think about resisting as well as resiliency. And then hopefully, if done right, rituals might surface at the end or somewhere in the middle, or who knows. But in terms of using video, some of my favorite movies that I have used include Finding Forrester, because we've got a kid from the Bronx who actually is brilliant and reads all kinds of great books that are, you know, and they're classics. Nobody around him is reading these things, but he is consistent to do it, and he does it by himself. And he's not considered as kind of the outlier. He's not the typical one. But there's a lot to be said theologically around what's going on there. I mean, critical theological questions could surface around how in the heck that a kid like that could actually develop a relationship with a rusty old white guy that just happened to end up staying in the Bronx for the rest of his life. You know, what type of communion is that? You know, communion is the big word. That might not be what teenagers would use. But there's other ways. You know, friendship is a theological concept, and that can come from viewing that very movie. But it gets better when you talk about a friendship that is not only highly unlikely. We'll be talking about differences in age, race, socioeconomic background. All of these types of things lend themselves to critical theological questioning. And I think that's one movie that's really good for that. I will select things from YouTube, particularly clips that help us think about current events, and ask a number of questions. And this includes movies. Why was this movie made? What type of money was expected to get from it? Because you cannot side skirt the questions around money. Those are also questions that have some theological implications. So I use a lot of film to do work with young people. I mentioned the Perkins Youth School of Theology, which is now called Faith Calls. We have movie nights, but it's just not like kick back, put your feet up, and eat popcorn. There is an expectation that we will have a conversation that brings together what you're learning in your theology class, what you're learning in, because we do have them take Intro to Theology just like what the students at Perkins take, what you're doing in Bible. We hope that they will integrate what they're doing in the church and the social context all together as they look at this movie and they process from what has happened throughout the day. I think that pastors can do that in their own churches. You cannot give them pat answers, though. You've got to give them, if I can use this metaphorically, a training wheel bicycle, a bicycle with the training wheels on it, on how to formulate the questions. Because if they get into a habit of formulating the questions, then you can empower them to start seeking out concrete answers. You don't always have to give them the answers because we don't know it anyway. And good questions beg some research and some exploration, some thought, some prayer. But I think that to give young people the tools to raise questions, move them to do things that are far more than we can ever ask or imagine in terms of their ability to really change the world.